we can start with the diabetes and what are the symptoms of diabetes and what is the impact of diabetes on the kidney patients.
So, my dear friends, good morning. Diabetes is the commonest disease now, which is affecting the kidneys. And unfortunately, diabetes in India is becoming exponentially a major threat. So much so that India is supposed to be the diabetic capital of the world. More than 33% exponential rise of diabetes is occurring in India. And compared to that, it is slowing down in West and even China, especially diabetic kidney disease. So by 2030, I think nearly 75 million diabetics will be there in India. So it's a huge problem. Now, diabetes affects kidneys like all organs of the body. And if 100 people get diabetes, 40 people out of those 100 will get diabetic kidney disease, diabetic nephropathy. Simplistically, their kidneys will be affected by diabetes. This is the prevalence and the problem of the magnitude of the diabetes problem affecting the kidneys. So we really have to be careful. Number two, the symptoms of diabetes by itself are more hunger, more thirst, more urine, especially if patient is passing more urine, especially at night, then it suggests that some diabetic nephropathy may be setting in. Then sometimes swelling over feet may come, and if they start having high blood pressure, a diabetic patient starts having high blood pressure, then it is very much suggestive of diabetic nephropathy or diabetic affecting his kidneys. I call it that diabetes and hypertension is not 1 plus 1 2, they are 1 plus 1 11. They really join forces and harm the kidneys very badly. So always remember that diabetes have to take care of their diabetes as well as they should watch their blood pressure. So again, I will recapitulate that common symptoms of diabetes: more hunger, more thirst, more urination, and then pertaining to kidneys, more urine, especially at night. Sometimes there will be frothing of urine. One has to be very careful. Then there may be anemia. The blood formation in the diabetic patient may reduce, and high blood pressure is very important. Swelling over feet, bone pains, and all these things will also be there. May also be there.
To add to sir, just I'm adding some statistics.
Yeah.
India is second most country affected with diabetes in the world. 7 lakh Indians died of diabetics, hyperglycemia, kidney disease, or other complications of diabetics. Diabetics leads to a major diseases like CKD, hypertension. According to International Diabetic Federation, 463 million people have diabetes in the world and 88 million people in the Southeast Asia region. Of this, 88 million people and 77 million people belongs to India. This number is huge, and this problem is increasing day by day. So, what are the factors causing diabetes?
So the factors that cause diabetes is one is the genetic predisposition. If somebody's parents were diabetic, then he has more chances of getting diabetes. If one parent is diabetic, and then there are nearly 20-25% penetrance by the age of 40 years. And if both are diabetic, the chances double. So one is genetics, then other is overweight, sedentary lifestyles, inappropriately dietary habits, and excess of more refined sugars, fast food, and these things, lack of exercise, then stressful life, smoking, all of these will contribute to increased prevalence of diabetes. I put it in a way that avoid 5S. Avoid 5S. What are those 5S for diabetes? One is sugar, excess carbohydrate, polyunsaturated, and fructose corn syrup, these drinks and all, excess sugar will give you diabetes. Number two, excess salt will give you high blood pressure, which will worsen your diabetes for sure. Number three, smoking. Number four, sedentary lifestyle, couch potato. So if somebody is not doing enough activity, their calories will not burn and they will go into a lipogenesis phenomenon in which the fats will accumulate in their bodies, and these fats especially accumulate inside the organs, in the liver, around the all organs. That creates problems in diabetics. It creates insulin resistance. We will talk about maybe later. And the final fifth is stress. So sugar, salt, stress, smoking, and sedentary lifestyle should be avoided to get a better control on diabetes. So I would say, I would recapitulate genetics. You cannot change your parents, you cannot change your genes, but you can change your
Yes, yes.
modifiable factors like watching the weight, doing regular exercises, avoiding unnecessarily calories, no snacking. Alcohol is also not good for diabetes, regular physical activities. So, all these things, if we do, it will get a good handle on diabetes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Maybe this current modern age people, the lifestyle is totally different. They have junk food, late night working. Uh, is this impacting, uh, like leading to a diabetes or any other critical diseases?
So, you mentioned three things. Modern lifestyle, most of the time, what I understand from my younger patients and friends is the amount of stress they have generated upon themselves. Here, I would like to say that stress is not something very bad. God has given us stress to enable us to meet very difficult circumstances in life. For example, if some man-eater is coming after us or some ruffian is chasing us with a weapon, then we have to run fast. So the stress there will come to our rescue to save our life. If there is earthquake or we are trapped somewhere, so we have to manage to come out. So stress is a good thing. But when we make that stress abnormal in our life, on small things we get worked up, we don't know how to manage that stress. That is one component in today's lifestyle. The other component is odd working hours, and COVID breakdown also led to quite a lot of it. That leads to sleep lack. Now, friends, the five as I told you, you can also add spirits, which is alcohol, and sleep lack. Sleep lack is exceptionally important. Anybody who's sleeping less than 6 7 hours, at least 7 6 hours, will have higher chances of cardiovascular disease and other metabolic disease like kidneys. Because sleep is reparative, it restores your body while we are sleeping, it brings them back to normalcy, takes away the breakdown, the shear, the stresses on the body and the mind, and sleep is absolutely essential. And the third thing you mentioned was fast foods. See, friends, once in a while you can party yourself, enjoy, you can treat, you can use it as a reward. But on a daily basis, on a very frequent basis, one is eating fast foods. Fast foods, colloquially, what we mean is food which are not balanced, which are not nutritious. So, if one is consuming more of them, then one is taking a lot of trans fats. Now, trans fats, which in long time was called dalda and many other things, they are used in preparing food, parties, marriages, and I think in restaurants even today. Although there is a legislation in many first world countries to not use trans fats in your food, because trans fat is one fat which once enters the body will not leave the body. The enzyme is uh, competent to digest the trans fat. So whatever trans fat we eat, it will just go and sit on the arteries, on the endothelium, and it will cause blockage of the arteries of the heart and brain, etc. So trans fat should be avoided. Now, first of trans fats, they contain more salt and they are not nutritious. So on one aspect, they are containing more things which you should not be taking. And on the other aspect, you are not getting things which you must be taking. So a balanced diet must be taken, and a balanced diet will lead lot of vegetables, fruits, different kind of diets. To just remember, if your diet has 5 colors in it, then possibly you are taking a balanced diet, and you must have heard of Mediterranean diet and all those things. So we must be very careful. We must take a balanced diet which contains carbohydrate, fats, minerals, vitamins, etc.
Okay, that's good, sir. Because diet is a major component which leads to the diabetes, and people should be very careful what they are eating and how much quantity they are consuming. Sir, next is like how this diabetes is related to kidney functioning, how it impacts our kidney.
How diabetes impact kidneys? You are asking.
Yes, sir.
So, diabetes is a systemic or a disease which affects all the organs of the body. Okay, right from head to the toe. And kidneys get lot of blood from the heart. In fact, every heart cycle is 25% of the blood to the kidneys, and it does to clean the blood, because kidneys are like your normal cleaners of your body from inside. Like from outside, we use soap and water to clean our skin. The kidneys clean it from the inside. So, what they do is the blood, 25% of the blood comes every minute to the kidneys, and they filter and remove all the toxins from the blood, purify the blood, and give it back to the heart to be circulated to the rest of the body. Now, when somebody has diabetes gradually will cause first kidneys to work more. Kidneys will have to work more, so they become little bigger, they get thicker, and lot of glycosylation. We call it glycation. The word comes from glucose. We call it glycation products. They are found in the linings of the kidney, in the small vessels of the kidney around. We call mesangium around the connect packing material of the kidneys, and the kidneys become thick and turgid. We call it age, advanced glycation and products. Just remember age. Lot of age products get deposited in the kidneys. So on one side, the kidney becomes thicker, and their abilities to filter the waste product reduces, and then they start becoming non-selective because their fineness of the filter process is gone. So then they start passing out the essential components of the blood also, like proteins, albumin, and other important things, besides throwing out urea and acids. So one starts losing proteins in the blood from the blood into the urine, because the kidneys have become thick, less ability to function, filter the waste intelligently, and now they start throwing out indiscriminately. So this leads to damage further, and all this protein going out of the body will give rise to the swelling in a patient, which we call edema. You must have seen these patients get swelling over their feet, around their face, and everywhere. So this is how diabetes start damaging the kidneys, and then the blood pressure also starts rising. Now the diabetic filter, the kidney filters are very fine; they are exceptionally fine and porous. And if they are exposed to high blood pressure hitting those filters, they become more leaky, they become more malfunctional. And this leads to a very vicious cycle. For example, one kidney has 10 lakh, that is 1 million filters. So, initially, let us say 10,000 filters are damaged and they atrophy or they die. They become senescent or they become apoptotic, whatever word you want to use. So, 9 lakh 90,000 filters are left. Then they started overworking. Then you are left with 9 lakh 50,000 filters, then 9 lakh 30,000 filters. Then over 5 7 year periods of time, the effective filters become very less, and then the blood urea and creatine is not able to be thrown out of the blood, and they start rising in the blood, and you get full florid kidney damage and kidney failure.
Okay. Sir, is there any approximate time the person is detected with a diabetes and then after like this time he will have a kidney related issues or kidney related malfunctioning?
So it is a very good question, but unfortunately, no timeline has been seen for many reasons. Diabetes in children, which we call insulin dependent diabetes or type 1 diabetes, is easily diagnosed and diagnosed early. So he comes under the lens of a doctor. So it is seen that in type 1 diabetes or diabetes in children, it takes about 15 years average is from 10 to 20 years. So mean is 10 to 20 years. You can say 15 years for him to get kidney damage. But most common kidney failure is in adult diabetics, which we call type 2 diabetic or majority diabetic. Here in India, people don't do regular tests, they don't do medical checkups. So they never know. For example, somebody may be having a diabetes, and the only symptoms he has more thirst, more appetite. So he's very happy. Everything is hunky dory for him. So what I'm trying to say is that in most majority of people, that diabetes is not diagnosed at the time of initiation when it started getting its malified actions inside the body. The point of onset of patient becoming diabetes in a majority is not known because of lack of education, lack of doing tests, and whatever you might call it. But let us say even if somebody is very sure and one gets to diagnose diabetes within months of getting diabetes, then on an average it takes about 6 to 10 years for a patient of diabetes to get diabetic kidney disease. But again, as I said earlier, if 100 people get diabetes today, a 40 will progress to diabetic failure. Not all 100 will go to diabetic failure because many other
Oh,
factors are playing in that patient. It's a polyfactorial disease. Diabetes is a polyfactorial disease. There are n number of factors involved, and that is why sometimes you will find that two people get diabetes and they apparently are doing the same thing, but one will go into diabetic kidney disease, the other will not get into diabetic kidney disease because of so many other factors playing around.
uh, in case, sir, a person is detected with the diabetes, and he wants to avoid this kidney related any diseases. So, what prevention or how cautious he should be?
One gets diabetes, I said, remember those 5S, that is very important for him. But also important is that he should have a plan of action. He should have his physician and he should go for regular checkups. Nowadays, we understand that if you want to manage diabetes, you should do diabetes sugar testing at home. You cannot depend that in 2 months you go to a pathologist and you give blood and you see sugar fasting and after meals. Now we have to control sugar 24/7 round the clock. So they are small glucometers. They are portable. They are not expensive, and for one test at home, he might require a strip costing 40-50 rupees, and he should do it regularly. So in that way, that person will be able to have some handle on his diabetes. Number two, they must also monitor their blood pressure, and then very important, cholesterol and lipids also. So all those five things are very important, and this will only come when a person is aware of his sugars, of his weight, of his blood pressure, and is in regular contact with his physician. So if somebody gets diabetes today, initially attempt will be to use lifestyle changes. We don't want to start medicines immediately for diabetes. These lifestyle changes mean reduce weight, uh, eat proper diet, which is nutritious diet. I had touched upon it little earlier, and then try to reduce weight, and then control your blood pressure, and very importantly, avoid unnecessary medicines like painkillers, strong antibiotics. And here I would like to mention that people feel that indigenous medicines are safe, but one has to be extremely careful because sometimes there are many impurities in it, and we see many patients coming to us with kidney failure after taking indigenous medicines, and the quality control of these medicines have to be exceptionally good. Another thing which is coming up is dim nephropathy in youngsters who are taking a lot of proteins products and supplements, and especially if they have some metabolic or genetic component of diabetes. So at early age they will not know, but if their parents are diabetic, so that gene is in them, and then they get this unwanted, very sometimes adulterated or not quality controlled lot of proteins in their diet. So we see many youngsters are coming with kidney failure, which we call gym nephropathy. This is also very important. So in nutshell, one has to be very holistic in management of diabetes, early diagnosis, early management. And for management, diet and activity are two important tracks. They are just like train tracks. Two, they will run together. So good diet, good exercise, good activity. And then if the sugars are still uncontrolled, let's say after a period of 6 weeks to 3 months, then some medicines will be required, which your physician will be able to guide you. I would say that is how one should go ahead.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, you want to know how exercise plays a role in controlling diabetic or controlling sugar?
You see, exercise has many benefits. Number one is it builds up your muscles. It prevents muscles from dying down, which we call sarcopenia. When your muscles are active, their glucose utilization is much better. So your glucose is better utilized, the one glucose which is coming from your food which you are taking. And then active muscles lead to better bones, strong bones, and they also help. And most importantly, when one is doing exercise, one is burning calories. For example, to give you an example, a worker who is at a building site, who is involved in construction, and a white collar person like you and me who's sitting in and doing in the cabin, doing his job on computer and whatever, our calorie needs are not same. A person like me would require 1500 calories about on an average, and that worker will require 3500 calories. And that is why you will never find a fat worker working on a construction site, because well and not they are calorie deficient. So the point I'm trying to make is, if one is physical, if one is doing a lot of physical activity, a simple thing is for persons above 40, youngsters can do many things. They can do isometric exercises, they can do isotonic exercises, they can go to gyms, whatever. But please avoid protein products in gym. So coming back to exercise, regular exercise, even after 40, a simple mantra is that one should walk for 40-45 minutes every day, at least 5 to 6 times a week, a moderate walk. It should not be a trudge. It should not be just meandering along. It should be a brisk exercise walking, which helps a person to get a better handle on his control, his sugar, and all those things.
Okay. In exercise, at least person should have a normal walk, cycling, running. These are the easy one. It everyone can do.
Yeah, if you can do it, they are very good. They will see. I tell you a simple formula. If one is walking, they will burn about 10 calories after 30 minutes of walk. They will burn about 180 calories about 30 minutes of walk. But if somebody is jogging, they will burn double. If they are doing cycling, they will do about 300 calories. So certainly running, jogging, walking, and swimming, they are extremely good exercises. But if somebody cannot do swimming and cycling or jogging, then a brisk walk, 45 minutes, and you can increase it gradually, 5 to 7, at least 5 times in a week, is a very good way to do it.
That's great. Period. I think patients should keep in mind that exercise, diets, these things play a major role in controlling diabetic and
So,
all other diseases. Sir, we
so I
have I
think we
have
will
one
end
more
the
question.
session here today. Okay, so that will
Uh,
be last question.
okay, last question, sir. We'll take. So, in case a person has a kidney diseases, can the person have a diabetic? Can that lead to a diabetic symptoms?
Hello.
I- I'll re- I'll repeat the question, sir. If a person is detected with a kidney diseases, can the same patient have a diabetic in future?
Yes, he can get diabetes. Even if he's not diabetic and he has a kidney problem, there can be many reasons for that. Number one is his diet may become skewed. He may not be taking balanced diet, because in kidney patients we try to restrict protein, then they end up taking more proportionately carbohydrate and fats. Number one. Number two, some medicines we give in kidney disease, especially in autoimmune kidney disease and inflammatory kidney diseases, which are like steroids and other medicines, they may sometimes push up sugar. They may cause diabetes, like tacrolimus and all those medicines. That may also happen, but that is a rarity. Common still is one gets diabetes, whether it is diagnosed or undiagnosed, whether it is overt or covert. and that leads to kidney disease very often. But to answer your question simplistically, yes, if somebody has kidney disease, they will have more chances of getting diabetes also, because they will become less active, they will be doing less frequent activity, less burning of calories, food may become skewed, it may not remain a balanced diet, and then medicines, as I said, and stresses and so many other things will come into play and push up their sugars. And also, kidney disease is an insulin resistant state. So even if they are not taking many calories or fats, they are not able to burn that sugar because of the resistance to insulin. So in kidney disease, you may have high sugars, you may have low sugars also. The carbohydrate metabolism, the metabolism of sugar in the body is through haywire. So it becomes both ways. It gets diabetes will beget kidney disease, and kidney disease will beget high sugars. And one more thing I would like to say before ending, that people who get diabetic kidney disease, 50% of them will die of heart attacks and heart failure even before they will reach to dialysis or kidney transplant. Because the common enemies of kidneys are also the common enemies of the heart. And heart and kidneys are very commonly entwined. They are like Siamese twins, to say. And whatever, like I said, salt, sugar, stress, less exercise, they will all affect the heart also. Increase cholesterol, blocking of the vessels, like I mentioned, trans fats that they'll depend that will deposit in the arteries of the heart will give heart attack. So 50% of diabetic patients who have bad kidneys die of heart failure before they reach even to dialysis or transplant. So I will end here, and I will thank you, my listeners, for sparing your time on Monday. And I hope it was of some use to you.